Like they call it the doghouse.
Okay, Canelo Alvarez versus John Ryder taking place in Guadalajara on Cinco de Mayo weekend for the WBA, WBC, and IBF, and WBO, and the Ring Magazine super middleweight titles. And a not a great fight. I think Canelo does this. I think Canelo personally has a thing with British fighters, and he likes to bully them because I'm just saying, Callum Smith, Liam Smith, Rocky Fielding, now poor John Ryder. He's giving it to them. But I think a good fight for Canelo, though, on Cinco de Mayo. I think it's a perfect sort of homecoming fight. Obviously, last fight, Gennady Golovkin got the unanimous decision. Before that, lost to Bivol, beat Caleb Plant before that. So he's been on a relatively good tear, Canelo, as he always is. There's obviously a lot to talk about. Potentially dragging Bivol down to super middleweight, but Canelo's not really keen on that because of the whole the idea of dragging him man down, who he's lost to. But I think Bivol's obviously got a thing of maybe trying to take Canelo's belts as well. I don't know what it is, but either way, not really. I think a fight that I think people would get very excited for, but an interesting one nonetheless. I do wonder for John Ryder how he sort of approaches this one, because it seems like every Brit that has fought Canelo kind of has been a little bit overawed by him. I don't think I've ever seen a Brit really take the fight to him yet. 37 fights in his career, and at 34, John Ryder. So I wouldn't say he's a vet. Well, he's a vet, but I wouldn't say he's old to the point where he's washed. He's still got a little bit in there. And last fight beat Zach Parker, and which is a very weird one. But then he obviously also got to the victory over Danny Jacobs before that, which is a good win. Although I personally thought Jacobs won that one, to be honest with you. Didn't watch the fight against that Parker, but I know he did get a broken hand Parker in the fight. But then before that, Joseph Jericho, Mike Guy, lost unanimous decision to Callum Smith before that. So his losses have come to Nick Blackwell in 2015. They've come to Jack Arnfield, to Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith. So guys who are relatively known, I would say. So maybe he does struggle against a certain opponent. But I think for John Ryder, Southpaw, which is an intriguing one to me, because Southpaws traditionally are extremely horrible to deal with, and with Canelo, he tends to struggle against boxers. Really, if you look at guys who can move a bit now, John Ryder, nowhere near the boxer that someone like, obviously nowhere near Floyd, but then someone like Ericindi Lara, and we know Lara, Southpaw, did cause Canelo a little bit of problems in that fight and had him backing up at points, possibly even won the fight, who knows. And I think Ryder, you fight the right fight. I think you could cause Canelo some problems, but not enough maybe. But either way, going into the fight, we'll start off with John Ryder. I think, personally, the first thing I think he should do is constantly, and Canelo just has a good job of sort of not getting really that affected by the jab, but I think jabbing Canelo is a homecoming return, so Canelo's going to want the knockout. I think if you can frustrate him, be the best thing, because I don't really see much of what Ryder really does in terms of his normal fight won't do working against Canelo. That's why I don't see what he does in that, if you want to do that. But you jab, you keep Canelo on the back foot, don't let him dictate the fight. I think it's just smartest bet. So yeah, I think the jab, and then I think the second thing I would do is, Ryder has a very bad habit of dropping his hands and sort of just storming forward recklessly. I would say use educated pressure. Pressure Canelo, but be smart with it. Don't just swing wildly, because Canelo will land something big on you. And because Canelo's such a big puncher, people do kind of get afraid to do that, really. But I do think that your Ryder, best bet is to do that. Pressure, jab at range, and the sort of last thing I would say is, I actually think, and I say this a few times, but I think make it a real ugly fight with Canelo. Make it a fight where people are going to be booing and throwing the popcorn at you because Ryder's a good fighter, but let's not get twisted. He's not on the level of Canelo. He knows it. I think everybody else knows. He's a massive underdog in this fight. So his best bet would be, I think, purely to just sort of make it a scrap in there, make it ugly. I don't encourage fighters to ever use the headbutt or do ugly tactics, but when you're not as good as a guy, I think sometimes it may not be the worst option, but not saying you should though, for the record. But I think making it a very grueling fight for Canelo, I think, would be the smart thing to do, especially as a southpaw. He can cause him a lot of problems, but we'll see how Ryder does. And then we go into Saul Canelo Alvarez. First thing first, southpaw. Naturally, Canelo's best punch is that sort of left hook to the head/body, and I think personally, Canelo doesn't really jab, which is something that is intriguing because of being such a great fighter, Canelo, and a great counterpuncher and a great technician as well. Not particularly an amazing jab if you look at it. His shots are pretty much set up by his sort of money shots are the left hook, the sort of right uppercut to the body/face. He has a variety of power punches that he kind of goes to, but never really uses the jab as much. But I think this fight could be a way to do it. If not, a lead right hand, something that's going to bring Ryder's hands up, and that is where I think personally Canelo's left hook will be money against a guy like Ryder, who's a southpaw. Naturally, the right hand will come up, and the lead hand is going to be there, and I think you can sneak a shot under the guard of Ryder. I think you got him. I do think for Canelo as well. I think in his last few fights, he's had a tendency to coast a little bit, especially against Golovkin. I feel against Bivol he had to do something, but he kind of was gassed and couldn't do much in there. But yeah, I just think that, like I said, I think first of all, get Ryder's lead hand up, and then second of all, I'm going to say, I think with Ryder, he's a bigger guy. Is he a bigger guy? Canelo's relatively small, but I feel with someone like Ryder, I said about the body shots with the left hook to the body, but I also believe that you can just slow Ryder down in there. If he wants a quick and easy night, Canelo, I think just dig those body shots in there, and I think eventually you'll get him out of there. So I say dig the body. Naturally, I think it's a smart thing to do. I think he should have done it way more than he did against Golovkin, and I think in this fight would be the smart thing to do. And I think personally, just make it uncomfortable. And I don't usually say this, but I think just go for the knockout in this one. I don't think that Canelo will coast in this one. I think he will go for it. In Mexico, it's homecoming. I think it makes more sense. And I think for Canelo, I think he, against a certain opposition, is one good thing about him. He's very consistent. He doesn't drop the levels. He does worse against better fighters, but really against guys who are not at the level of him, he usually blows them away. Which people, of course, but guys like Tyson Fury, you've seen this. Don't sometimes when they fight a guy who's lower than them, they kind of drop to that level, and Canelo never does that. So I think chase the knockout in this one and be smart. Don't do it, but I think Ryder's there for you. And southpaw, I think there's more opportunities for that left hook to the body and to the head. But yeah, I think I'd like to really say Ryder has good chance in this one, but in my prediction, I think it's pretty obvious. I think Canelo takes this one via left hook body shot, round 4. I'm gonna say, good fight, Ryder, and a decent fight, but not really one that's gonna really test Canelo to the point where we need to see him against like a Benavidez, I think, at super middleweight now. These fights for Canelo, I understand if you just want to keep active, this is what you do. I would like to see him move away from this type of opponent now and kind of step up I don't want to say step up the levels, because Canelo does fight the elite guys and he's elite, but I don't know, just sort of go away from these type of fighters and maybe pick more intriguing matchups, I would say. But I think it's a good fight. I think Canelo gets it done, and I think hopefully we see Benavidez next, because I think that would be the fight to make. He wants a bit of a rematch. I don't want to see it. I think he loses again. Maybe I change my mind as if the fight I maybe analyze it more and when the fight comes closer, but I just don't see the point in that one. But yeah, Canelo, I think, beats Ryder. I will do a recap of the fight afterwards. And also, it's another thing. I don't know why Canelo always seems to pick the same nights as the UFC. I swear he did this with, I think, was it when he fought Kovalev? I want to say, I think it was Diaz and Masvidal who were fighting. He also did this one time. I think it was Usman and Covington or something like that. Were fighting. He seems to pick these nights where there's always like some crazy fights happening. But God bless him, great fighter, and yeah. Until next time.